the field, they are mortal enemies. But snakes and horses are closely linked when it comes to saving human lives. Both species are involved with the creation of snakebite serum, or anti-venom.
She's traveling through the wild. She's searching for the truth. Courageous child. She's gonna find a groove. Picking up the trail. She's gonna find the answers. She's gonna tell the tale. She's gonna tell the tale. Keep it wild. Keep it free. This could be our last chance to see.
Wild Limited is on a quest to explore the relationship between horses and snakes, fairly unlikely stablemates. Our first stop is at African Reptile and Venom, which amongst other things is a supplier of snake venom for use in anti-venom production. The vibrant green boomslang is South Africa's third most poisonous snake. It's just one of the many species for which snakebite serum has to be produced.
Snakes are an unavoidable part of life in South Africa, and our country is home to a wide variety of highly venomous species. But today, being bitten by a snake doesn't necessarily mean death. In fact, snakes are working for humankind in conjunction with another very graceful creature, horses.
Horses are the ideal species for anti-venom production. They have a large volume of blood, approximately 40 litres or 8% of body mass, and the likelihood of disease transmission is small. These are healthy, fit animals, and neither the horses nor the snakes that are milked for their venom are harmed in any way at all. Yes, it is a curious coupling of species, but a common purpose and a fascinating process that has saved many human lives.
In South Africa, 90% of all snake bites occur from 4 different species: the Mozambican spitting cobra, the stiletto snake, the night adder, and most commonly, the puff adder.
A specific antivenom is used to neutralize venom from 10 snake species, extending to some adders, mambas, and cobras. Given the number of venomous snakes in South Africa, snakebite serum is often a lifesaver to the victim.
Mike Perry has been interested in snakes from the age of 10. Mike, we've just seen you doing something quite incredible here. You clearly know their behavior really well to know that what you were doing was safe.
Yeah, Michelle, if you know what the snake's strike distance is at that point in time and what the snake wants to do, the snake, you can see he wants to escape. That's what he wants to do. And then that little part that he hoods up, that's about the distance he can strike at that point in time. So it's quite safe.
So he's a cobra. What species of cobra?
This is the snouted cobra. We used to call these snakes Egyptian cobras. It's a very common snake in South Africa. They're found in savanna areas. It's a non-spitting cobra. And they are dangerous snakes. You need to watch out for these snakes. You'll see that the snake is actually very reluctant to strike. You've really got to press it hard before it's actually going to strike. I want you to notice something. They follow movement. If I'm going to stand still, you'll see the snake loses interest in me because I'm not a threat to him anymore. But any movement, there you can see immediately, he becomes active and intent on defending himself.
And when a venomous snake bites, it's a nasty, potentially deadly experience.
Mike, in all the years that you've been working with snakes, have you ever been bitten?
I've had 2 bites, Michelle.
So you're a snake bite survivor?
I am, yeah.
Surviving a snake bite may mean the amputation of a limb. This tissue loss is from a puff adder bite.
Mike, how does a bite from a puff adder actually occur?
These snakes rely on their camouflage. You can see that the snake is just lying in the grass there. Okay, you can't see it, and a lot of our people don't wear adequate footwear. So they'll walk, step on the snakes, and get bitten by them. And these snakes are often active also at night. And without lights being around, people can't see the snakes, and it makes it more dangerous.
There are 3 types of snake venom. One, from snakes such as the boomslang and vine snake, causing swelling and continuous bleeding. Bites from adders cause massive tissue destruction, often resulting in amputation, while cobra and mamba venom causes muscle paralysis. All can be fatal. These images represent the gruesome reality. To prevent becoming just another snakebite victim, we must arm ourselves with knowledge. What to do if we are bitten. Anti-venom does help save lives, but only if the victim gets immediate medical attention. When a snake strikes, they bite to kill.
Mike, many people in South Africa are petrified of snakes,
Yes.
to the point of having an extreme phobia. What's your suggestion to overcome this?
You know, knowledge is power, so I would suggest that people gain a education, do some courses on snakes. I offer courses. I teach people how to identify snakes, how to treat the bites, and also how to handle snakes safely without getting bitten.
And your passion for snakes? I mean, of all the creatures on the planet, why snakes?
Well, when we moved here in 1963, I was a city kid, 8 years old, never seen a snake. And when we arrived on this property, it was like wild open spaces, plenty of snakes. And my parents would just kill these snakes. All my questions were answered with one statement: we don't know. I found it strange that my parents were grown up, they had been to school, and couldn't answer a single question on snakes. And so I had to educate myself, and I started reading and reading and reading, became more fascinated. And so eventually I twisted my parents' arms to allow me to catch snakes, and since 1965, this has been my hobby. It became my profession in 1999 when I started milking snakes for the anti-venom unit.
Fascinating subject, but how is anti-venom produced? Stay with us.
She's searching for the truth.
You're watching Wild Limited, and we're about to milk a snake for its venom.
So the snake that's most responsible for more deaths in Africa than any other
The puff adder?
is about to be milked.
Yes.
Mike has been working with snakes since he was a child. He manages the snake gently but firmly. There's a sense of security for the puff adder. It's comfortable in Mike's presence and doesn't feel threatened by him. Don't try this at home. Puff adders are beautiful reptiles with the wide triangular head and stubby body. With distinctive chevron markings and textured, keeled scales, they have a rather rough appearance. This perfect camouflage means they often get stood on, resulting in many snake bites. They're thick-bodied and sluggish and generally attack by ambush. Don't be fooled though, they have one of the fastest striking rates in the world of around 7 meters per second.
Now, Mike, this snake has got very unusual fangs.
Well, this snake has hinged front fangs. In this resting position, the fangs are folded against the palate of the mouth. So all adders and vipers have that fang arrangement. That's all it means. An adder or a viper is a snake that has the fangs that can actually fold against the palate of the mouth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the snake to the edge of the bucket. He's probably going to, by force, strike through the plastic membrane and we'll collect the venom in the bottom there. And then I'll show you the fangs afterwards.
A sterile beaker is used so as not to contaminate the venom.
There you can see.
It's yellow.
Yes.
Puff adders have a large venom yield and long fangs to inject it deeply.
Those are big fangs.
Right, so there you can see the fangs.
Nice and clearly, especially with the fleshy bits on the top, and that's the hinge.
The maxillar bone is under that fleshy part. Fang is fixed to the maxillar bone, and the maxillar bone has a muscle attachment that will then pull it back, and the fang is then drawn parallel against the palate of the mouth when the snake is resting. Now, these fangs are hollow like a hypodermic needle. The venom gland is situated in the cheek region here. There's a duct that runs from the end of the venom gland over there to the front of the fang there. The entrance orifice is over there, Then the venom goes through the hollow fang and is then injected into the tissue. So that's how it works.
Mike, we've got such a lovely view of the top of the snake where the eyes are, and then the two holes in the front. Are those the nostrils?
Those are the nostrils, yeah. The snake uses the nostrils to breathe through, not for smelling. The tongue is used together with the organ of Jacobson for the sense of smell. So the nostrils are only used to introduce the air into the lung, but not for smelling.
And coming out of his windpipe, is that his tongue?
Underneath the windpipe is a sheath where the tongue is pulled into, yes. So the tongue is hosted underneath the windpipe. You can see the windpipe opening there.
There we go. Oops. And there's the tongue sticking out underneath.
That tiny black hair is a forked tongue used for smelling. The tongue itself doesn't smell. Rather, scent particles gather on the flickering tongue and are analysed in the specialised Jacobson's organ on the roof of the mouth.
I want you to feel the snake's skin. Right, the underside is smooth, okay?
Yes.
And the top of the scale is rough.
Because it's got a ridge.
That's it, it's got a ridge. These are keel scales.
Now, keel scales have a middle ridge, giving a rough appearance and feel. From the most bites to the most deadly. Mike puts the puff adder away as we move on to South Africa's most venomous.
Surprisingly, only 0.5% of people present at hospitals with bites from black mambas. Mike, why such a small ratio?
Black mamba tends to move away when people approach it. It's rare for them to stick around if you approach them within 25 meters. And also they lift their head off the ground if they're annoyed, and they move like that, so you tend to see them.
The black mamba is one of the most charismatic snakes that we've got. People living overseas visit South Africa just to see the black mamba.
The snake has this awful reputation based on the deadliness of the venom. If this snake bites you, it is a medical emergency. You need to get to medical help. But when you meet a mamba in the bush, the mamba's going to go one direction, you're going to go in another direction. So that will be the brief meeting you will have. They do not attack and chase and all these type of things that people say.
What type of toxin does a mamba have?
The venom is a neurotoxin. It attacks the nervous system. It causes progressive weakness. So you become paralyzed progressively, till eventually the lungs will stop because the rib cage is paralyzed and you cannot breathe.
So you suffocate to death?
That is correct.
What kind of time frame are you looking at from when you've been bit to when you should be under medical care?
A bite from a mamba will normally paralyze you within 20 to 45 minutes.
Now that's really extreme. Having heard what Mike has said, behind us in this glass cage is a black mamba. And Mike is going to take him out, cautiously, and milk him. Mike, how many mambas are in there?
I normally keep 3 or 4 mambas in a cage like this. Can you hear them hissing at me? They're not happy. I've carefully just got to get one of them.
Don't try this for yourself. This mamba is fast and it's lethal. Mike has years of experience and skill in handling snakes. Phew. With that head under control, we can breathe a sigh of relief. Black mambas are very long snakes. In fact, they grow up to 4.5 meters with an average of around 3 meters in size.
That's a long snake, Mike.
Right, just quickly something about the black mamba. It's called black mamba, but as you can see, the color is more gray than black. Often it's even more brown, but the inside of the mouth is black. So a correct name would really be black mouth mamba. Right, so let's just show you how that's done.